When people turn to telehealth for weight loss, they're looking for real support. That's why more people are choosing OrderlyMeds.com. Orderly Meds connects you with real doctors and access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide. No guessing, just a more supportive experience, and all shipped directly to your door in discreet packaging. Do your research, ask questions, then visit OrderlyMeds.com/podcast for an exclusive offer. That's OrderlyMeds.com/podcast. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on the History Shorts, when we picture the perpetrators of the Holocaust, we tend to picture men, the SS officers, the camp commanders, the guards with dogs. And the historical record does support that picture. The overwhelming majority of those who designed, administered, and carried out the systematic murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others were men. But not all of them. Approximately 3,500 women served as guards in the Nazi concentration camp system. They were called the Aufseherinnen, or the female overseers. They were recruited, trained, uniformed, and paid for by the SS. And what they did in the camps was documented at the Nuremberg trials, at the Belsen trials, and in the testimony of survivors who have never been able to forget their faces. Our history brief today returns to the History Shorts Conversation Series Vault and a conversation with the best-selling author Catherine Oliverius. A quick word from our sponsors.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
This day in history. On April 29, 1777, British explorer James Cook made landfall on the eastern coast of Australia, marking the beginning of British claims in the region. On April 29, 1945, Adolf Hitler married Eva Braun in a bunker in Berlin, just one day before they both would take their own lives as Nazi Germany collapsed around them. Story of the day. The recruitment of female guards began in 1942 as the camp system expanded beyond the capacity of male SS personnel to staff it. The SS did not initially want women in the system. The ideological framework of National Socialism placed women firmly in the domestic sphere, mothers, wives, bearers of the Aryan race. The idea of women in uniform, exercising authority in an institutional setting, sat uncomfortably with Nazi gender ideology. Necessity overrode ideology. As the camps multiplied and the prisoner population grew, the SS needed people to supervise female prisoners. Male guards were prohibited by SS regulations from entering the women's barracks. Female guards were the solution. Recruitment was initially voluntary, drawn from the female workforce, from factory workers, shop assistants, and domestic servants who were offered better pay, better food, and better housing than their civilian alternatives provided. Later, however, some women were conscripted. Training took place at Ravensbrück, the SS main women's concentration camp, where new recruits were taught the procedures of camp administration, and crucially, where the culture of the camp system shaped what they understood to be normal. The women who became Aufseherrinnen came from ordinary backgrounds. This is perhaps the most important and most disturbing thing about them. They were secretaries, nurses, hairdressers, and factory workers. They were, in the plainest terms, ordinary. What the camp system did was provide an environment in which ordinary people could exercise extraordinary cruelty, and in which that cruelty was not merely permitted, but actually expected, rewarded, and normalized. Some guards exercised their authority with bureaucratic coldness, enforcing rules, conducting roll calls, maintaining the machinery of the system without personal investment in its victims' suffering. Others, however, went considerably further. The historical record of individual Aufseherrinnen is extensive and specific enough to resist generalization. Dorothea Binz served at Ravensbrück and was described by survivors as taking personal pleasure in beatings and punishments. She was convicted at the camp trials in 1947 and then executed. Irma Grese served at both Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen and became one of the most notorious figures in the entire history of the camp system. She was 22 years old when she was arrested. Survivors described her conducting selections, choosing who would live and who would go to the gas chambers, with a casualness that haunted testimony after testimony. She was convicted at the Belsen trials in 1945 and then executed at the age of 22. Maria Mandel served as the chief female guard at Auschwitz-Birkenau, one of the most senior positions a woman held in the entire camp system. She was responsible for the lives of hundreds of thousands of women prisoners. Survivors described her as a woman who could order a mass execution with the same effect she might bring to a routine administrative task. She was convicted by a Polish court in 1947 and then promptly executed. The trials that followed the war's end produced a body of testimony that historians have spent decades analyzing. One of the questions that testimony raised with uncomfortable insistence was this: were the female guards more cruel than their male counterparts, or did they simply appear more shocking because cruelty was unexpected from women? The honest answer is that the evidence does not support the idea that female guards were systematically any more brutal than the male ones. Individual women committed individual atrocities, and so did individual men, in numbers far greater. What made the female guards historically significant was not the scale of their crimes relative to men, it was what their crimes revealed about the assumptions that we carry. The assumption that women are inherently more compassionate, the assumption that nurturing and violence cannot coexist in the same person, the assumption that the capacity for organized cruelty is just a male characteristic. The Aufseherrinnen demolished those assumptions one by one. Historian Wendy Lower's landmark 2013 study, Hitler's Furies, examined the broader question of German women's participation in Nazi crimes, extending beyond the camp guards to include wives, secretaries, nurses, and ordinary civilian women who witnessed, facilitated, and in some cases directly participated in the atrocities on the Eastern Front. Lower's conclusion was stark. There were hundreds of thousands of German women who were present at the scenes of mass murder. Many of them looked away. Many did not. The camp guards were the most visible and most prosecuted, but they were not the whole story. Of the approximately 3,500 women who served as prison guards, a relatively small number were tried after the war. Many returned to civilian life with little or no legal consequence. Some lived for decades in post war Germany, unidentified, untroubled, their past unremarked. The gap between the crimes committed and the accountability that followed is one of the persistent moral failures of the post war reckoning with the Nazi system. The women of the Nazi SS are not a comfortable subject, and they are not meant to be. Their story asks something of us that is harder than horror. It asks us to accept that the capacity for systematic cruelty is not a function of gender, that the conditions which produce perpetrators do not require a particular chromosome arrangement, that ordinary people, given sufficient institutional permission and ideological cover, are capable of things that no comfortable theory of human nature can fully absorb. The History Brief. The following comes to us from History Short's Conversation Series Vault and a conversation with the best selling author, Catherine Oliverius. You can search for the entire conversation wherever you're listening to this episode.
So yellow fever, for those who don't know, it's a highly contagious disease. In the 19th century, it was extremely lethal, and it's mosquito-borne. So it's spread by mosquitoes. And on one research trip to New Orleans, or maybe I was in Baton Rouge, I can't actually remember, but I was opening a diary of a man that died of yellow fever. And I knew this from the sort of the tag, reading the card catalog. I knew this man had died of yellow fever, and I opened the last page of his diary, and on the last entry, there was a little mosquito with a ring of blood around it
Wow.
that was there. And I thought to myself, is that the offending mosquito? Is that the one? And so I closed it and put it back. But anyways, you find all sorts of strange things in the archive.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping to make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying this show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. And I hope you guys check out our new YouTube channel where we have different series that are not part of this feed. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.